Hi folks, happy Friday. It's a lovely Friday afternoon. I've just been working this morning, early this afternoon on a refurb, so just back to catch up on admin, do some paperwork, etc. And I'm just scrolling through the property news and something grabbed my attention, so I thought, well, let's share it with you. Mostly interesting to my property developing friends, people with a strategy for mini-mos, etc., HMOs. So what it is, one of the strategies people use to get started in property or to invest in property is called an HMO, which is a house of multiple occupation. Used to call them bedsits back in the day, but there's still a house of multiple occupation is the same thing. They're trying to sexify it, which is one of Rob Moore's new words, which I quite like, so I've stolen it. And they now call it co-living spaces. So it does, because we moved from bedsit to HMO to co-living spaces, and that's sexifying the name. Anyway, if you have a property with over six HMO with over 6 beds, you need planning permission. However, previously, from 2010, the Conservatives deregulated planning, and they brought in permitted development, which allowed a lot of things to be done without express planning permission. So you still have to tell the council what you're doing, but if they didn't respond within a certain amount of time, you consider it's okay and crack on with it. And even if they did respond, they find it very hard to block you. So HMOs became a really big thing, but not full-sized HMOs, what we call a mini HMO, a mini-mo, etc. So that's a house or a property with up to 6 bedrooms. So for those of you who don't understand what HMO, an HMO is a property where everyone has their own bedroom, but they share kitchen, bathroom, lounge facilities. Sometimes you might have en suites, but potentially you're sharing bathrooms as well. So that's an HMO. So yeah, they were bedsits back in the 70s when Rigsby was around. Hopefully they're a better standard than they were back then. I don't really have a lot to do with HMOs. It's not one of my strategies. I viewed a couple. I actually even offered on one, but didn't buy it in the end, and that was a mini-mo. So what happens is developers go around looking for houses that are suitable to develop into mini-mos. And these tend to be usually 4, sometimes maybe 3, but sometimes usually 4-bedroom family houses where they can divvy up the space and put 5 or 6 bedrooms, 4 or 5, 6, maybe 6 bedrooms, usually 4 or 5, and keep it nicely below the radar, because the other name for them is below the radar, HMO. So they change what was a family house into basically, co-living space, should we call it. So they're not flats because you share these, kitchen, bathroom, lounge facilities. So this has been a major strategy. Now, this has been tackled in other parts of the country already, and what I'm going to talk about has happened elsewhere over the last few years. However, what's been flagged up is Bolton. Now, for those of you who don't know where Bolton is, it's basically between Wigan and Blackburn in Lancashire. And it's it's an old, I suppose, mill town would be the best way of putting it. Plenty of big old Victorian houses there, etc., etc. And there's been a big surge in the amount of HMOs there. So they've gone from 117 HMOs back in 2021 to what they think by the end of last year is around about 720 HMOs. So 6 times the amount they've had in 3 or 4 years. And obviously they've decided that this isn't right, and they're not happy with it. And what they're saying is HMOs tend to be in areas of high crime rate and deprivation. However, what they're seeing is some of the outlying towns of Bolton, outlying wards, there's also an upsurge, if that's the word, I'm not sure, upsurge in HMOs. So there's been concerns raised by their constituents, so they say, and they have decided to bring in what they call Article 4. Now, Article 4 basically means you will need planning permission whether it takes out the permitted development side of it. You need to have planning permission for any HMO, whether it be 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 10 bedrooms. You need planning permission. Now, they wanted to bring that in immediately. They've been told by the council officers that they cannot do that because they could be on the hook for a lot of money in compensation to developers who are already planning HMOs, have planned, bought property, etc. So they've got to wait 12 months and give fair warning that this is what they're doing, basically. So they had a meeting on the 11th of April. Well, they passed this. So they have put these plans to come into place in 12 months' time in Bolton that will curb HMOs. It won't necessarily stop them because you can still apply for, planning permission for one. You have to obviously have to take your planning case there, your business case, etc. Why it's suitable for that area. However, it makes it a lot harder for you to do these mini-mows. And also extends the turnaround time because, anyone's been through planning knows not necessarily a quick process. Okay. Now, how can they do this? How can they change the rules? Well, they've always been able to change the rules. When permitted development came back in 2010, when they deregulated all the planning, there was a lot more in permitted development than there is now, and slowly but surely the councils have gone, don't like that, let's bring a rule in about it, and they are allowed to do that. Okay, there's nothing stopping them doing that. That's part of their job. We don't think it's suitable this area, bring Article 4 in with HMOs, but they've also plugged other gaps in they don't like. So it's happened in Liverpool. Liverpool is over the water for me. That's Article 4. I live in Wirral. It's not Article 4, but I can see them going that way because there is definitely an upsurge again of HMOs around here. I went to view one the other day and it was awful. To be honest, it wasn't even fire safety compliant. So obviously there's concerns being raised by. That was one of the other concerns they said was safety concerns, overcrowding concerns. The one I saw, the top floor, which was the old loft space, you couldn't get out the window and you need to be able to exit the window in case of a fire because you need the 2 exits. And then it should be easily accessible. Well, if you've got to jump 5 foot up in the air, you're not going to get out that window, are you? And I pulled out of a deal because that was a deal breaker for me. And the house is still up for sale. So this is what's happening in Bolton. It's already happened in a lot of cities anyway. So Manchester have done it, in Salford and Manchester. Liverpool done it, parts of Liverpool. It's not blanket wide in Liverpool, but some cities can be blanket wide, or towns can be blanket wide. There's nothing to say Bolton won't do that. They'll just make it a blanket wide rule. You need planning permission. So if you're looking to, if that's your preferred strategy and you like to build out HMOs, or that's what you're moving into, key bit of advice now is, for that area, check the local government website, see what their local plan says, search for any news on restrictions to HMOs, because it might not be enforced now, but in 12 months' time it might be, like as in Bolton. And you want to be, if you're investing in property, it's expensive if you get it wrong. So take a look at the local plans, do your proper due diligence. This is something I teach, by the way, due diligence, and I'm not promoting the course in this video, but I can teach you due diligence, which I will come to at a future date. So due diligence is key on regulations, on permissions, on potential changes. So make sure you're doing your due diligence. If you're in Bolton, you've got 12 months. That's what they're saying. So they're worried that there might be a really big rush for people trying to get these mini-mows through and built and in place within 12 months. Maybe there will be, because some developers get, right, let's fill our boots here. Others, it might scare them off. Anyway, that's just something that piqued my interest. Hopefully it's been a little bit informative. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's all from me. Anyway, have a great weekend. Keep moving forward in whatever you're doing. I'll see you next time.